Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Yeah. Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed. Dr. Shealy, are you blissed? Yeah, me too. Fire bliss all over the studio here. Dr. Shealy, I just wanted to mention something that I've been thinking about it for days and days and days. There was a television series back in the 1970s called the Rockford Files, Rockford Files. And the principal actor was James Garner, Garner. He was Maverick in that series as well in the 50s. And his real name is James Scott Bumgarner, Bumgarner, but I guess for Hollywood he used the name James Garner. Well, there was one episode in this series. Have you ever seen this, by the way? The series, at least? Okay. That's what I thought. Well, I thought I'd mention this because there's something very interesting about what he said. Or his writers were quite excellent. And so during one episode, this woman asked him, now he plays the part of a private investigator, and he's always at odds with the police. And he pokes fun at the police in a very underhanded way in this whole series. But this woman says to him something like, is there anything you would not do for money? And he says there are two things. He says that he would not kill for money and he would not marry for money. Now the whole point of why I keep thinking about that is, I think that's what royalty, the elite, and kings have done. Exactly that. They married for money. They tried to keep, the dynasty going, the monarchy going. And if they needed to, they would kill for money. And I think that holds truth for the people who rule the world to this day.
I agree.
Any comments on that? Okay.
I absolutely agree. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so here we are, many people of faith, and we're told that, we should be, some denomination of some mainstream religion, whether it be Catholicism or Judaism. We could be Episcopalian, we could be Dutch Reformed, Methodist. I mean, the list goes, Presbyterian, the list goes on and on. And all of these religions talk about not killing, not stealing, etc. Teaching us, the right way to behave. And yet, the people in royalty, the elite, the movers and shakers of the planet, the people who run our lives, don't follow what we have been programmed through religion to do. Any comments about that?
Well, I have never, really had great respect for royalty. It doesn't seem to me to be royal. I don't. In fact, of course, I have even less respect for politicians of all kinds. I consider most people who get into politics to become at least almost, if not totally evil, the minute they get that kind of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they think they can. I mean, as something as simple as parking anywhere they feel like parking, whether it be a reserve spot, a spot for a handicapped person, a fire zone, it doesn't matter. They just park wherever they want. They put their badge or their credentials on the dash where they can be seen by the police, and they get away with it. get away with it. I know a guy who was pulled over for speeding. He's a Missouri representative, and he told me the story. Told me firsthand. He said he was pulled over on Interstate 44 for speeding. He was going way too fast, and the state highway patrol pulled him over and asked him why he was speeding, and he said he was going to Jefferson City, which is the state capital, and he was late for a vote, and the vote was about a raise for the state police. I mean, the guy was quick on his feet, but he was lying, absolutely lying. Now, I don't know if he got away with it. I believe the result was that the state highway patrol let him off. Me or you or, anybody we know, unless it was a real serious emergency, we would have been detained for quite some time. So I really don't have respect for people who are, in power, whether they are elected or selected. But it seems like you're right. They abuse it the second they get in. And I learned, Dr. Shealy, that day number one of a junior person coming into office, day number one, there's a party that night. And the party is they're approached by people and they're told, hey, listen, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you here. There's a party tonight. You might want to go. And so everybody wants to go and meet who's who. And at the party, they are approached by people who want certain things. And they're willing to pay for those things. And they would be called, lobbyists. And then they go to a meeting. These politicians that are newly elected go to a meeting and they're told this. They're told, well, now that you're elected, the rest of your term you spent running for re-election. Now, you can knock on doors the way you did the first time, or you can meet with some people and they'll give you big money, and then you won't have to knock on doors. That's what they're told. It all seems to fit, doesn't it, Dr. Shealy?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's why I personally believe you should never be allowed to run for any office after your first one.
I agree. And in Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, there's only one term for, at least that's the way it was, one term for governor. So, you don't spend, or a person who won that office or was selected for that office doesn't spend the rest of the term running for re-election. I was working on a golf cart over the weekend, and this relates to you never know what people are going to say. And so you've met our boys. You've met our two boys, and you certainly know me and Mrs. Finelli. Well, I was working on this golf cart, and I was putting lights on it, and I was rewiring it and fabricating, and it took me all day. And I missed dinner. Mrs. Finelli said, it's dinner time. I said, I just can't stop. I've got to finish this. So I missed dinner, and after dinner, I was really kind of delighted that I got this job done. It was laborious. And, I was on my back. I was under the golf cart. I was hanging over the engine, soldering and cutting and splicing and et cetera. Anyway, I got it all done. And, I came into the house and one of our sons was there. And I said to him, he was in the kitchen and he's like, you missed dinner. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. And he's kind of giving me a little bit of a hard time for missing dinner. And because we eat as a family. And, so I said, but I got the lights finished on the golf cart. And he said, yeah, now the next thing you need to do is fix the lights on that new truck of yours. Now my new truck is 20 years old. I put a transmission in it. I rebuilt the differential in the rear end, put, rear axle bearings in it. I'm working on the engine, rebuilt the front end. I mean, I spent a lot of time, months on this new truck, 2001, Chevy truck with 250,000 or more miles on it. So he said, now you need to work on the lights on your new truck. And I looked at him. I was kind of puzzled. And I said, why do you say that? He said, well, they're like middle-aged boobs. And I was really puzzled. And he said, well, one points down to the left and the other one just hangs off to the side. So you never know what is going to come out of the mouths of your children, right? So I just wanted to share that little story. What is new in the world of Dr. Shealy?
Well, possibly the most, from my point of view, I have been invited to participate in a contest for proving the continuity of human consciousness after death. And I need to do about a dozen more past life therapy sessions so that I have enough verbiage to enter the contest. So I'm going to offer 12 people free past life therapy sessions. Now, it has to be in person. I can't do it over the phone. But if they schedule it through the office here, I will save them $225. If you have a moderate to severe illness.
How about if you're recovering from a severe illness and
Well, I consider that still moderate.
Okay. So something like what I have had and am pulling out of, would that be considered
Absolutely.
Okay. So if it's all right with you, if you want to put a check mark next to my name, I'd love to participate in this study.
I would love to have you.
Okay. So do we use your telephone number at your office if anyone is in the area?
I've told Lindsay at the front desk. 417-351-5221.
Okay, class. If you're interested in this study, what we should talk a little bit more about it so you know what it involves. But I have done a past life regression with Dr. Norm Shealy, and it took about an hour, and it's kind of in a lazy boy type chair, and I was hypnotized to a state of consciousness where I was just barely there, and Dr. Shealy guided me through asking some questions, and it was videotaped, so there's a record of it, and it was quite an experience. So, but I think if you absolutely positively want to resist this kind of process, this past life regression process, this hypnotizing process, I believe you can do it. I believe you can fight it, and when you're all done, you could say, "Man, it didn't work for me," or if you do what I did and go in willingly to participate, you can be moved to another state of consciousness where it will work. At least that's my belief. Dr. Shealy, is that correct?
I've done hundreds of them, and I would say 98% of the time, a person who has any major illness or significant illness will have a past life session which seems to be related to the current illness. 1% of the time, actually, they will have a beautiful, wonderful previous life, but often that is just as helpful as the other because it shows them it can happen. And 1% of people cannot do it, but that's pretty rare.
But what I was saying is that if you wanted to resist, and you could resist this whole thing and come out saying, "Nope, didn't work for me." But if you wanted to work, I think my experience was you can say, "Yeah, it actually did work for me." Is that the way you see it, Dr. Shealy?
Exactly.
Okay. We'll be back just a couple minutes, couple commercials, and we've got more to talk about regarding this study that Dr. Shealy is going to be doing. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, medical doctor, and he's also 3 times PhD and author of just under 40 books, and holds about 15 or 16 patents, and is world-renowned. And he's doing this study about the continuity of life after death. Now, who would not want to know about that? Well, I certainly do. And Dr. Shealy, can you tell us a little bit more about the type of person that you would like to be involved in this and what that person would experience and where that person would go? I mean, the who, what, when, where, why, and how of this particular
it could be any
study.
kind of psychological problem, depression or anxiety especially, or a physical illness of any kind that has not been, cured within 6 months at least. That's the basic thing. Now, if you've got an acute cold or, that's not an indication for past life therapy. Past life therapy can help you come to grips with long-standing problems. I have literally done hundreds of them, and I consider it the single most powerful psychological therapy in the world. I've been doing it since 1972. I mean, I sometimes actually do it for a group of 100 people, and even when I'm just doing a group thing and don't talk to the people, at least 75% of people will have such an experience. And 2 or 3 of them will have such a painful experience that they need help from me when it's over. But the important thing is this technique that I learned in 1972 is one of the most powerful psychotherapeutic tools in the history of the world. I consider it far better than any other kind of talk therapy.
And where would this occur, Dr. Shealy? So, and by the way, class, if you're interested in this and you want to learn more about it, you can call us right now. And the telephone number to call for this broadcast class is 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. And that is the telephone number for Dr. Shealy's office, his clinic in Springfield, Missouri. You'll be talking with Lindsay, and she will set up the appointment that's the number for the broadcast class, 866-582-9933. If you want to talk to Dr. Shealy right now, you may do so and ask more questions. If you would like to set up an appointment with Dr. Shealy's office in Springfield, Missouri, that number is 417-351-5221, 417-351-5221. And Lindsay will take your call at Dr. Shealy's clinic. Dr. Shealy, how long will this experience take when someone
takes an hour,
shows up?
And it's at the clinic here where I do it. And if it's a woman, I have one of our female staff sit in with me because I do not like women to be in that deep a trance alone in the office with me. I don't think men need to worry. And women don't need to worry, but I don't want them to. So that's why anytime I do it with a woman, I have another female in the room so they feel safe getting into a very, very deep emotional trance.
Okay. And is there anything that, other than what you've alleviated some potential concerns for, is there anything else that they need to be concerned about?
No, I don't think so. Most people actually, once it's over, appreciate what they've just been through. They recognize the overall psychological, emotional, and physical, spiritual help.
Okay. So it takes about an hour. It's in Springfield, Missouri. And so, class, if you're interested, you can call us right now and ask your questions. And that number right here is 866-582-9933. That's, excuse me, that's the broadcast classroom telephone number, 866-582-9933. Okay, Dr. Shealy, this trance, is there any risk that a person might have of not coming out of it?
No. Again, I've done hundreds of them, literally, and have never had any problem like that.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking is not because I'm concerned, but I just want to allay any concerns
right.
that anyone who has not had this.
Only one person out of the hundreds I've done it had no memory of what happened. So fortunately, I recorded it to play back for them what they said.
Yeah, I have memory of what happened, and I'll tell you a little bit about mine, class, when we come back. I went through a past life regression session with Dr. Norm Shealy, and I'll tell you a little bit about it, and so you get a feel for what this is like. We'll be right back. So, class, I had a past life regression session with Dr. Norm Shealy, and as we discussed, it lasted about an hour. And I was sitting comfortably in a lazy boy type recliner chair, and Dr. Shealy put me into what I would refer to as a hypnotic state or a trance, just verbally, speaking very slowly, kind of what you'd imagine as a hypnotic session. And he asked me a few questions, and I responded. And as I remember this, it appeared to me that I found myself in a setting that was very much like a Revolutionary War setting. Could have been that period of time. And what I was trying to do was get the villagers in our village, a little tiny hamlet of, farming village, trying to get the men to protect themselves from what was coming our way. And you could call it the British. They were coming our way. And there were shots fired 4 villages away. People were dying. Farms were being destroyed and burned down, kind of like the War of Northern Aggression, also known as the Civil War, this scorched earth kind of environment that the North unleashed on the South. And so farms were being destroyed and burned, houses were being burned, and 4 villages away. And it was coming toward us. And I was trying to get the men to stand up and protect their lives, their families' lives, and their property, and their real estate, and their buildings. And I was unsuccessful. And we met at a building that you might call an old church, an old grange, worn wooden floors, a wooden building, very Spartan in appearance. And there were, several men there, and I was talking to them, trying to tell them, look, they're coming our way. They're coming our way. We can use guerrilla tactics. We can fight them. We don't have to succumb to this. We don't have to let them burn down our houses and our village and do whatever they want with us. We can fight this. And I couldn't get anybody to pay attention. And so it was just me, and they all slowly turned their backs on me and walked out. And I was standing alone, trying to get the village to unite. And then a period passed, and I was looking down on myself from above, kind of like maybe a bird's eye view, if you will. And I was looking down at myself, and I was in a field, and it was years later, maybe 4 or 5 years later. And I was way worse for wear. I was hunched over. I was worn out. And I was way older than 4 or 5 years older. Okay? And so what I'm saying is that, and I didn't see my death. I didn't see, torture or execution or anything like that. What I did see was, that I was way worse for wear, and I accomplished nothing. I couldn't get not anyone, to listen long enough to say, wait a minute, okay, so you're saying that here's what we need to do? I couldn't even get that. Dr. Shealy, do you remember that past life regression with me? And is that,
I do, and was that after you had run for election? Wasn't that sometime after you ran for election?
Yes, it probably was. It probably was.
I think
the board of directors.
One of the reasons I thought it was important, because I remember you were running for election to some kind of board, and not getting there, and to me that was an interesting reflection on a past experience with politics.
Well, I can tell you that running for that the board of directors for Laclede Electric Cooperative, I was totally unsuccessful. I ran 4 separate times during a 5-year period, and each time I got about the fewest votes that anyone could possibly get. I mean, I was beaten severely. I mean, I probably set records in how poorly I did.
May I make a comment?
And yes, please do.
I think it's because you're honest. I'm not being facetious when I say that. People who are too honest have trouble getting elected to political situations.
Well, I mean, I talked about different things. I talked about the threat to our grid and how one single cartridge from a rifle shot at an electric substation could take down that substation for years. And I even pulled out a 223, for an AR-15 out of my pocket. I didn't have a rifle with me, but I had the cartridge, and I held it up between my thumb and forefinger, and I said, So this is a 223, and I think I paid about 20 cents for it. And that's what I said. I think I paid about 20 cents for this. And one of these could take down a substation that could put thousands and thousands of people in the dark without electricity for years, because there are no replacements for these transformers. And I talked about the electric rates, and I talked about lots of things that I thought people would be interested in. No one seemed to be interested. At one time, there were 37,000 potential votes for this particular office, and I received exactly 100 votes out of 37,000, which was like really an indicator that I had no chance of surviving. And I was beaten by people who just didn't understand. They didn't understand what they were doing. And they were yes men. Literally, these were people who were brought in to win this selection so that the management of the electric cooperative can say, all right, boys and girls, here's the problem. What do you think we should do? And then the board of directors would say, I don't know. What should we do, boss? And then the boss would say, well, here's what we could do. And then the board of directors would say, well, that's a great idea. Let's do that. All in favor? Aye. Oh, it won. Good. Thanks so much, boss, for telling us what we need to do, because we had no clue. That's how I saw it.
Well,
I just want to let Jason know that we have a call. Yes.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We have a call on hold, but I don't know who it is. So Jason will need to answer that. And so don't hang up. Stay with us, and we'll put you right on the air. So, Dr. Shealy, you think that experience of being beaten so badly in the public forum and not being able to get anyone to pay attention to me was transferred to the past life regression?
Well, I think the past life situation probably showed that you are not a politician. That would be my... That because you are so honest, you don't have the guile to be a politician. I'm not being facetious. That's how I would interpret it.
Yeah. You know, many years ago, I was hired to design a computer system for a state government that would be rolled out across 50 states. And there was a competition to do this. And there were 6 states that were building a system, and it would be implemented on a national level, okay, standardized. And because prior to that point, there was no standardization of reporting to the federal government. And of course, I thought I was doing kind of a neat thing, and I thought there was, merit in it. And so part of this project that lasted a couple of years required me to go to Washington, D.C., and go to these monthly meetings to talk about, the progress of my 1/6 of the project. And the other states would be there with their designers as well. And we would meet, and one of the things that we had to do in order to get paid, because the government was paying for this, federal government was paying for this whole thing, it was like $1 million project, or maybe more. So one of the things was called dissemination and utilization. And we had to figure out how we're going to let the other states know what we were up to. And so we're sitting in this boardroom, and I'm the youngest guy there. Everybody's way older. I'm in my 20s. Everybody else is in their 40s. And so after listening to all of these, older guys talk about how we're going to do dissemination and utilization, that means dissemination is, tell others what we're doing and how they can use it. I raised my hand and I said, so, there's 6 of us here. How about we take turns and each one of us writes a newsletter once a month and we put 49 stamps on it and we send it out? How about we do that? Their solution was, let's hire a consulting firm to pick and analyze what the criteria is to hire another consulting firm to do the work for us. That was their solution. My solution was 49 stamps and we do it ourselves. And they wanted to kill me with that suggestion. So you're right. I have no understanding of politics. Any comments? Because we have
yes.
To me, that is all on hold.
You have no guile. You have no.
Yeah, I got to work.
Ulterior, if you will. motives. And I think that politicians thrive on on unhealthy ulterior motives.
Okay. We've got Amit in Massachusetts, and then Kathy. You'll be next, Kathy. Amit, welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Finelli, and good morning, Dr. Shealy. I have a comment to make, and I have a curiosity to ask or mention. The comment I have is, in the beginning of the program, Mr. Finelli said about that lawmaker speeding to Jefferson City to vote for a race for state troopers. So that made me recall, and it's a documentary from Sony Pictures, and I think it is made in the year 2007. The name of the documentary is Inside Job. So that describes the incest between Wall Street, academia, and DC, that is District of Columbia. So I think incest is a broader term. I think more accurate term will be ménage à trois. That's the French term. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So the basic idea was that Wall Street will sponsor research projects for academia to push certain economic policies or whatever benefits Wall Street, and that will be taken to DC to make laws which will be beneficial to Wall Street. So what is striking about that documentary, of course, is that lawmakers start fundraising for the next election right from the day they get elected. That is, they don't wait for a year or two and keep working and then start worrying about next election. They start fundraising efforts right from the first day in the office for the current session of the term. And the second thing which I remember still as very striking is at the end of the movie, like a cast, they show people who did not consent to be interviewed for that movie. And those were very prominent persons, say, from academia, government, so on and so forth. So that was my comment. And my curiosity is for Dr. Shealy as to why many skin conditions are so hard to treat, like acne or many skin eruptions, so on and so forth. That is, they are so
hold that thought.
Treatment and so hard to cure.
Amit, we're going into a break. Please stay with us, and I'm sure Dr. Shealy has some answers. Amit in Massachusetts is on the line, and Kathy, you're up next. Amit, please continue about the skin condition question.
Yes, sir. So my curiosity was that why many skin conditions like psoriasis, acne, and many skin eruptions, so on and so forth, are so hard to treat or take long to treat. I should say take long to treat, and often they don't heal at all or mostly. So that's just a curiosity. I don't know if there's an answer for that, because they may be connected to mental conditions.
All of these are problems with the immune system. And I would say next to the brain and the mind, the immune system affects more general parts of the body in every possible way than any other kind of disorder.
Okay.
So it's a question of not having any contaminants, if you will, not having any problems with antioxidants, lack of them, any lack of D3, any lack of B complex, any lack of vitamin C. In other words, immune dysfunction affects everything in your body about as much as depression and anxiety can.
Okay. Yeah, because I've heard that in psoriasis,
I've got.
They often require some
comment.
anti-cancer treatment, and even then it doesn't get fixed.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I got the idea. So
Amit,
yes,
don't go away. Don't go away. And please call me Vincent, Amit. I mean, we've known each other we've never met, but we've known each other for way long enough. Please call me Vincent. And I love your emails. And I love your emails.
We have sort of a custom custom a habit of addressing anyone who is even an hour elder to us respectfully. So that's why I fall into that habit, but you have permitted me to call you by first name. I remember that, yes.
Yes, please. So I just went into the kitchen during the break, and I met with one of our boys. He was at the kitchen table working on a schedule for the day. And he did something very interesting. He had what appeared to be psoriasis. And he had it for years and years and years until he went to the dermatologist. And they said, well, change your laundry detergent. Use laundry detergent that has no scent. Go to one of these unscented laundry liquids. Wash those clothes separately. Change diet. All kinds of things. Let's try these ointments and creams and etc. And they would work a little bit, but not completely. So he had a sore throat a few weeks ago. And what he did was he took 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and 1 teaspoon of natural honey that came from Arkansas. And he stirred it in a glass of filtered pure water. And he would drink that twice a day. What looked like psoriasis that he's had for years is probably 95%, 99% gone. Now, I'd love to hear Dr. Shealy's comments about this. Dr. Shealy, this absolutely worked. Now, he did not intend it for that purpose. He was trying to fix his sore throat that was, persistent. Any thoughts about why that might have worked?
Again, obviously, whatever the vinegar, probably more than the honey, the vinegar did was change some small part of his immune system that, corrected a lot of the difficulty. The immune system is very tricky. It could be exquisitely sensitive right up to, like a wasp stinging, you could put some people into shock, and yet others, I got a wasp sting on my finger last week, and, it hurt for maybe 5 minutes. That was the end of it. But my immune system is obviously a lot stronger for that particular thing.
Dr. Shealy, is this something that, yes?
Well, I take the equivalent of 20 servings of fruits and vegetables every day of my life. And that, I think, is why my immune system is pretty good.
And we should all follow that protocol. For some, it's difficult because fruit is not in season, depending on where you live. But that would be a great goal. Dr. Shealy, should Amit try what our son did, or is there any risk having a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and a teaspoon of honey twice a day?
Not for the average person. That would certainly not be harmful.
Amit, you would be absolutely stunned if we had before and after pictures. Absolutely stunned at the dramatic transformation. If you try it, will you call us and let us know what happened?
Yeah, definitely. I'll try that and call you. And my joke as a layperson is that physicians never talk about immune system because there's no single test for that. There's a test for COVID, but nothing for immune system. So just
yeah. Y'all blissed? I am blissed, fire blissed. And I just wanted to make a quick update. I checked with our son one more time about the apple cider vinegar and the honey. Initially tested with 1 teaspoon and moved right up to 1 tablespoon of honey in water, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and in a glass of filtered water. And that's twice a day. That's what he did. This is not a recommendation by me. I'm just telling you what happened and what worked. Dr. Shealy, any concerns about 1 tablespoon of honey and 1? Okay.
That's the usual is a tablespoon, yeah.
Very good. Kathy, welcome. You're on with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Good morning, Vince. Good morning, Dr. Shealy.
Hi. What's up?
Could I ask a question, please, about, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I have like blockage in my one ear. It feels like it's plugged. So I wanted to know any recommendations.
Well, you have no sore throat or any other symptom.
No.
Then to me, that is a place where conventional medicine shines. You need to have somebody look in the ear and be sure the eardrum is okay and the ear canal is okay. It could be just some odd allergy, but it could be an inflammation or even earwax. And, you know, just having that feeling means something's not right. Not likely to be an infection, but it's worth having it checked.
Okay. I will tell you, I do have your book, so I looked at some of your remedies, and I did I used 2 of the ear candles, and I did have wax, you know, some come out. It did feel better. It felt lighter, but then I still feel like it'll open and then will close. And I will say that I don't know if it's my imagination or not, but I do feel like sometimes if I get water in there, like when I shower, I feel like it kind of gets trapped in there sometimes. Like I always feel like I have to be careful that that it doesn't get in, you know, stay in there. Now I do have a couple kind of ear drops. One is it has grapefruit seed extract in it, and it's got tea tree oil. And I'm trying to think of what else it's got. It's got like a citrus thing and glycerin. And then I have another one that's got mullein flower and garlic bulb and arnica, and I think it's allium. So that's the onion family.
Well, I would want a good nurse practitioner or physician to look into the ear canal. If they say it is absolutely normal, then I would try a drop of castor oil.
Okay.
But I wouldn't put the castor oil until I was sure the ear canal is okay.
Okay. Okay, I will do that. I will call them today then. Can I ask, this is more of a preventative thing. Can I ask, how do you prevent getting high blood pressure? Because I hear so many people that have it, and I don't.
That's a great question.
I don't, but
you prevent high blood pressure by denying and detaching from stress. Stress is unequivocally the basic cause. Now, that is emotional. It could be physical stress, of course, but mostly it's emotional, anxiety, anxiousness, etc. And as long as you don't allow yourself to fume over stuff you can't do anything about, you're not likely to get hypertension. Did that make some sense?
Good advice. Yeah, that's great advice.
Autogenic training, my favorite thing in the world, autogenic training.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Shealy. I will give them a call today. Do you know what that is? Well, I have listened to your, I got on your email, and I did listen to it, and I did do it.
Well,
so
you need to do it twice a day for 3 months to train your brain.
Okay.
Once you've done that, then when something comes up, you can get back to that state in about 1 minute.
Wow.
The way I have survived this stupidemic is I trained my brain back in 1972.
Okay, now I'm connected. Jason, I'm connected now. Okay, let's see how this works.
Are we there, Kathy?
Jason, do you have me on the board?
Yeah, I'm still here, Dr. Shealy.
Okay. I'm sorry about that, class and Dr. Shealy and Kathy. I just lost the connection. It just went away. So I dialed in by telephone, and I was able to reconnect about a minute or two later. So that's what happened. And so we've got the finest internet that politicians can be bought to keep running. Terrible. Kathy, I missed everything that you said, but I did have a question. Are you done with your question or not?
I am done, yes.
Okay. So I had a question for Dr. Shealy, a couple points of clarification. Dr. Shealy, you mentioned castor oil as if everything is okay with ear, meaning I guess that means no infection. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And I remember years ago the term glycerin being used with ears, in conjunction with ears. Was that considered a safe approach to reduce the viscosity of earwax or not?
Yes, it would be.
Mm-hmm. And the idea was that you just kind of thin out a hard portion of the earwax by diluting it with the glycerin and then lie on a side so that the ear canal is pointing down and let gravity do the work. Is that the way it used to work?
Exactly.
Okay. And is there any risk in doing that, Dr. Shealy?
Again, there's no risk as long as there's not, and if you're only doing it with earwax, there's no risk. But you want to be certain there's no infection. The eardrum and the canal are okay. Okay.
Now, what is the concern if there is an infection, Dr. Shealy, using this?
It could irritate. An infection means the immune system is already hyperactive, overactive, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, would that manifest in a higher heart rate and higher blood pressure than normal?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be,
but you can have that considered locally without it affecting your blood pressure or heart rate also.
Okay. I know a lady who had, something was up with her eardrum. Maybe it was punctured. And because of that, she could not go swimming because it could result, I guess, in infections.
Exactly.
Also, it affected her balance, and she was unable to ride a bicycle. Does that all make sense to you, Dr. Shealy, medically?
That is definitely related to the eighth cranial nerve, yes. The eighth cranial nerve is the one with which you hear.
So I guess the reason that I'm mentioning this, Kathy, is your balance affected?
No, I'm able to walk and everything else, but like I said, I don't know. I've never done the ear candles before, and so I had my husband help me do it, and he did like one day and one the second day, and I did have wax in there, and it was hard. So I just didn't know if maybe my ear is still irritated, but it still feels plugged. So maybe there might be something, going on there, but it doesn't feel, I have good balance and all that. I don't feel bad. It just feels plugged. So,
Kathy, can you explain?
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you if you could explain to our class what an ear candle is, because I want to make sure that nobody takes a candle and sticks their ear over it, and has
true.
Roasted ear as a result. Can you explain what this is?
Yeah, it looks like a tube. It's probably about a half an inch wide, maybe 3/4 of an inch wide at the top, and it's made out of like a linen and a beeswax, and it tapers down, and you can't do this yourself, or you shouldn't do this yourself. And there are some pretty good tutorials online. I watched a couple. I did do it to someone before, but I watched a couple again just to kind of refresh my memory. And you light it at the top, and you make sure that you have like a bowl of water, and you have a towel covering the person's hair. And I used a foil plate and made a hole in it and put it over my, ear. And then what we did was we lit the top, and you tap it, and then wait till the smoke comes out the bottom, and then put it in my ear. And then about every 2-3 inches, you take it out and you cut the burnt part off, put that in the bowl of water, and then there's like a little skewer that you can make sure there's no wax that's plugged in there. So then you take the skewer and you get the wax out. So you can either relight it, or you can just carefully, check it from underneath. And then you just do that till you get about 4 or 5 inches from the end of the candle. And then that's it. And you just take it out, and you can check to see if you have wax in there.
So let me see if I've got this right. So let's say it's your left ear that is the problem, and you want to remove the wax out of your left ear. So you would have your right ear against, let's say, a flat surface like a table, with your right ear down, your left ear would be up, and the candle would be pointing straight up. Is that correct?
Well, what my understanding is, and Dr. Shealy can correct me, but you kind of want it to go in at an angle so no smoke comes out of your ear. Like, I made sure it wasn't like straight up. It was kind of the same angle, like sort of tilted back about 45 degrees so that it goes in your ear. And I kind of held like my ear, I don't know what the little flap, I kind of held that real soft to make sure that, and I could hear it. I could feel the warmth, and I could hear like a little crackling sound. And I'm sure that was
Dr.
the
Shealy,
burning.
how does this work, Dr. Shealy? What is the principle involved?
Well, it melts the wax, your wax can actually harden into, hard wax. And so the heat actually makes it drain, or allows it to drain.
Okay. So sort of like reducing the viscosity with glycerin, so that it is more pliable and it'll come out.
Yeah.
Okay. And Kathy, when you're done with this procedure, do you turn your head so that your ear is the one that you're trying to get the wax out of is tilted down and let gravity do the work? What do you do next?
Well, they tell you to put I think they said to put a little bit of, I don't know if it was garlic oil just on the ear, not in. And then you put that like a little cotton ball in your ear to keep any air from coming in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm trying to understand, but I'm not doing too well understanding the.
I can explain it a little bit more, Vince, if you want me to hold on.
Please stay with us.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be right back. Class Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, and the telephone number to his clinic in Springfield, Missouri is 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221. So if you're interested in that study, give us a call, and I'll give him a call at his clinic, or you can call us right here at USA Prepares right now, and our telephone number live is 866-582-9933. Kathy, I'm trying to understand about these ear wax candles, and it sounds like the principle involved is to create some kind of a vacuum using heat and create a vacuum. Is that correct?
Yeah. You want to, you want to have it in there. The smoke will go in the ear, and it draws it warms it. You can feel like a slight warmth in your ear. And I feel like as the cone burns down, it draws the wax out, because I think it creates like a small vacuum. And it did work. I was surprised. So
wonderful.
And at the very end, when you're done, they tell you to put a little oil like on a cotton ball, and you want to leave it in your ear, especially if you're going to go outside because your ear is sensitive. And if you're going to shower, like for at least 24 hours, at least put cotton in there so that you don't get any water in there.
My understanding is that this treatment has been around for a very long time. This is not new technology. Is that correct, Dr. Shealy?
Yes.
Okay. And have you done this? Have you had experience with this, Dr. Shealy?
No, I fortunately have not had the earwax problem.
Well, I mean with patients.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Back to you, Kathy.
Vince, I wanted to ask Dr. Shealy a couple questions. I guess you kind of answered my one question about preventing the earwax from getting hard. That's something I wanted to ask, like, can you use like a couple drops of glycerin? I know I've heard people talk about sweet oil or that ear oil that has the garlic in it. Which one is best to prevent the buildup? I think that's probably what happened, was I just had like a buildup in there and didn't realize it.
Well, either glycerin or castor oil.
Okay. And, Dr. Shealy, I was reading, I have a homeopathy book, and he was talking about using pulsatilla or calimure to clear out the fluid in the middle of your ear. Now, I know I have to go, have it looked at, but do you recommend them at all?
That one I would have to look up. I don't know that particular one.
Okay. Okay, and my last question is, when I go see the doctor, like, if it's not an ear infection, I just don't want to randomly use the antibiotic drops. So what questions would I ask him or her? Whoever, I don't know which one
well,
I'm
ask them if there's any physical abnormality in the ear canal or the eardrum. That's the most important. That's what you're after. I want to be certain there's nothing that physically needs to be done to clear it up.
Okay, and if there was an infection in there, then that would change the look of it. Then is that?
Oh yes, infection. That's the easiest thing to see is an infection.
Okay. Okay. And then obviously you would recommend using those drops. Yeah. Whatever they give. Okay. Okay, I think that's all I have, Dr. Shealy. I appreciate it.
Kathy, I've got one comment. Yeah, one comment. You and Sharon were on last Thursday, April 8th, and I listened to the broadcast, and I was so impressed. You and Sharon did an absolutely fabulous job. And I was talking with Kyle on the phone after the broadcast, and we were talking about Kyle coming on with me on Friday, the next day. And I said, Kyle, we got a real hard act to follow. Those two gals were absolutely fabulous on Thursday. And I wanted to tell you, you guys were unbelievably great in front of the classroom teaching. The information, the flow, the cadence, the content, it was all first class. And I want to say thank you. You did a great job. And we're talking about two grandmothers, two mothers, two wives, and I don't think they had any intention of being host or co-host of a nationally syndicated broadcast, but here they were, and they did a great job. So I just want to tell you, very well done. When the internet locked up, or it shut down, the call screen locked up. So we have 3 calls on hold right now. So Robert, you're first, then George, and then Glenn. So I just want to let you know, if you just stay with us, we'll get you all on. Robert, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Vince. Thank you. Good morning to you, Dr. Shealy.
Great.
I just had a few health questions for Dr. Shealy. The first one has to do with arthritis, and the particular case I'm talking about is it's in the hands and in the fingers, like the index finger on one of the hands mostly. And I was wondering, what you would advise on that topic just in general. And I was wondering also if could sugar be an exacerbator of exacerbating the symptoms of that?
Oh yes, sugar is poison. Sugar is the most non-food in the world. Sucrose doesn't even exist except in beets, sugar beets, and cane. And there's no need for it, and it is dangerous and stupid, and I haven't had sugar in my house in over 50 years.
Okay. I was going to ask you too, Dr. Shealy, what about like heat or cold type treatments on something like that, and then also massage, like a massage of the...
Massage is excellent. Do you take boron?
No, and this isn't for me personally, Dr. Shealy, but just someone I know. As far as boron, I know they have pretty good health habits, and they do take a multivitamin complex. As far as boron,
they need D3, of course, and boron, and vitamin C, and boron. All of those are natural, safe things that help the immune system in general.
Okay. And what about any sort of any type of essential oil that you would apply to arthritis in the hands?
Tea tree would be one. That can be nice, very nice.
Okay, good deal. And I had a few more topics or questions. I don't know if you have time, Vincent.
Well, just be concise. We've got George and Glenn on hold.
Sure. The next one I was going to talk about was strokes. What would cause a stroke, and I'm talking about an individual in their early 60s, and they may have they did have some contact with smoking and drinking, and I don't know if that could cause something like that to happen at at an earlier age. So what about strokes, Dr. Shealy? What's your advice on if someone had a mild or low scale, mild, minimum type of stroke? What would you say?
You need optimal health habits in every conceivable way to prevent and once you've had a stroke. Now, if they have neurologic deficits, the only thing, other than, again, having adequate B complex and all those things, the only thing I know could be the use of a gamma PEMF device that can help the brain recover.
Okay. Interesting, a gamma device. Okay, that'd be one thing that I'm not that familiar with.
Well, it's an electrical gadget that puts the brain into the gamma frequency, but it helps everything in the body. It helps the body heal. As
far as healing and relaxing, and where if anything is going to heal, it would be able to do it with that help. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and then the last thing, I have a few more, but I said three. The last thing I would want to ask you about, Dr. Shealy, is dry skin. If that's an indicator of anything, because it seems very superficial, but if that's an indicator of anything deeper to you, and then could drinking, if someone drinks, could that be the cause of their dry skin?
Oh, yes, of course. Any toxin can do that. And food, it is potential toxin. I'm not opposed to a tiny bit, but moderate to the extreme is a cause of many diseases, including heart disease, cancer, diabetes.
Okay, can you hear me, Dr. Shealy?
Yeah, I said get adequate omega-3 and adequate omega-6 fatty acids.
The fatty acids, okay. Sorry, you cut out for a minute on me there. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, me too. He cut out on me too, so I'm not sure what happened. Okay. But I had a quick question of clarification for Robert's question. Dr. Shealy, boron, what amount of boron are you recommending?
Well, if you weigh up to about 120 or 30 pounds, 9 milligrams a day, and 140 or more, 12 milligrams a day.
And what was that weight?
Well,
threshold?
130 and under, 9 milligrams, and somewhere between 135 or 40 and above, 12.
Okay. And is that in a single supplement, or is it combined with something else that we might recognize?
No, that's in a single supplement.
Okay. And are there any risks in taking boron?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Robert, did that answer your questions?
Yeah, those are great answers. I appreciate it, Vince.
Okay, and one last thing I wanted to mention. I am using the pulsed electromagnetic frequency gamma device every day for a minimum of a couple hours a day. And I want to tell you that I'm following Dr. Shealy's protocol with his youth formula, Dr. Shealy's essentials, etc. I'm following, and I've mentioned this many times, the protocol that I'm following. And I had massive inflammation in my chest, in my lungs, massive. And over the weekend, I was seeding one of our fields with clover seeds. I was on a four-wheeler bouncing around like unbelievable, like a child might. and I'm doing great. So I am using this pulsed electromagnetic frequency device, vitamin C, which is Dr. Shealy's youth formula, plus Dr. Shealy's essentials, plus turmeric and ashwagandha root and serapeptase and beta-glucan and one other taurine. And I use it every day, and it's working. It's working. Now, is it all of the above, or is it some of the above, or is it one of the above? I don't know. But together, I know it's all working. And I can't, and 1 egg a day. So, 1 scrambled egg a day. And the elimination of sugar and white. I've taken white out of my diet for as much as I can, which means white flour, white bread, white sugar, white rice, etc. And it's all
about
working.
Potatoes, Vince? You need some potatoes.
Oh, and
right?
and potatoes. They're out too. White potatoes are out.
No, you gotta have potatoes, Vince.
No, you don't.
Why?
Potatoes are not food. They are carbohydrate junk.
Because when you cook them in butter and you put salt on them and some eggs and whatnot, they're just really good, right? Some hot sauce maybe.
Junk
Oh,
is
yeah,
good,
of
but
course.
not healthy.
You're talking about taste versus nutrition, right?
Yeah, Vince. Hey, I have one more topic real quick, and I'll hang up, Vince.
You got to go real fast. Real fast.
Okay. Alkalization of the body, I heard it mentioned, I don't know if it was last week, but I was wondering your comments on Dr. Shealy connecting that with oxygenation, like if you were to do like a breathing exercise type thing. Would that lead to an alkalization of the body and the effects of that? All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Y'all have a good day.
All right. And I'll tell you what, Robert, call in earlier. Call in earlier next week, okay?
Yes, sir. Will do. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
You too. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Okay. Let's see. We've got George in New Hampshire. Welcome. And then Glenn, you'll be on next.
Hi, Vincent. Hi, Dr. Shealy.
Hey. Thank you for waiting.
Oh, no, I understand. I'm glad to see you get the lineup. Anyway, I just wanted to say a couple of things quick, and that is that you may have covered this in the past. I don't remember hearing it, but I guess Canada just had a massive recall on a lot of their masks that they're using for the COVID. And it isn't limited to them, but I've been studying some of the chemists. There's like textile chemists in Germany. And I have a lot of respect for the Germans, especially in the scientific and the medical end. But they were saying that it's some of these masks that are out there. They were saying there's one that's, of course, the bulk of them come from China. So right off the bat, unfortunately, in my opinion, they're highly suspect. And they said they have graphene in it and also biographene. And they were saying that these nanoparticulates, they get into your lungs and they can cause early pulmonary toxicity. And I know I'll yield to Dr. Shealy at the end, just my saying quickly, is that I think Illinois found a little over, I don't remember hearing it on the major news, but when I did a little research for calling in, it said Illinois was stuck with about $17 million worth of masks that they found they couldn't use, again, from China. And they said that there was, as of a little less than a year ago, there was over 5 different masks that were being recalled. So you can imagine what the numbers are now. But I've noticed that when I go into stores, normally I have a cloth mask with me or another kind of a mask. And what happens is that when you go in the stores and they have the free masks, I noticed that if I have to wear in a store and I had forgotten mine at home, I noticed that my lungs, the upper part of my lungs, will be burning by the end of the day or that night. In the middle of sleep, I'll wake up and I'll find that there's like a belt of burning on the upper part of the lungs. And I've found that I take those masks off if I'm alone in the aisle or I'm far enough away from people. I just lower it so maybe my nose is exposed or sometimes my full face, because I find I can't breathe more than a few minutes with that. And I'm sorry to go on and on, gentlemen. I'd just like to hear Dr. Shealy and your opinions on this, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Dr. Shealy, your thoughts
I don't wear
about
one.
masks
I
containing graphene?
Places where I have to wear them. That's it. That simple.
Do you have any information on graphene, Dr. Shealy? Graphene.
Yeah, well, it's a toxin, and I don't like anything from China except fireworks.
And fortune cookies. If I could just say one
so
other thing
you're absolutely right.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. There is the Canadian health authorities are saying that the masks that are used for coronavirus containing graphene should not be sold, and that's even on Fox News. So you're absolutely correct. Graphene is the problem in those particular masks. Very quickly, George, because then we're going into a break.
Okay. I was just going to say, when you buy Q-tips, buy the ones with sufficient amounts of cotton on them, because I find that they'll break off in the air, the cotton, and they'll get in there, and that can also cause problems later on. All right, gentlemen, I'll say goodbye. Thank you. God bless.
Well said. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us very quickly, class. The telephone number, if you want to be part of the study for the continuity of life after death, past life regression. Dr. Shealy's office in Springfield, Missouri, 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221. Glenn in Michigan, welcome. You're on with Dr. Shealy.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. I just wanted to share an experience about an ear infection that I had when I was a kid. What happened and what the solution was that the doctor did. So I was probably about 10, 11 years old. I don't remember. It could be off the year or so. My dad took a job in Sandusky, Ohio, and it was a week-long job. So I spent 7 days swimming in Lake Erie, and on the way home, feel like this. It was a 67 Mustang that we drove on the way home. I got the worst earache in the world. We got home like Sunday. On Monday, my mother took me to the local doctor. He looked down my ear with the device that they look down there, and they shine the light in there. And the doctor told my mother that I had severe wax buildup, and it was infected. And it was probably for swimming in Lake Erie for 7 days. What he did, and I want Dr. Shealy's opinion on it, because it worked. He laid me down on the table, it was in my right ear, left ear down, and put hydrogen peroxide in my ear and let me sit there for about, I can't remember exactly, 10, 15 minutes. Had me roll over, that drained, then he irrigated it with water. It was almost an immediate effect.
And he was right. Hydrogen peroxide is one of the best of all because it does help to kill the bacteria, et cetera, as well as loosen the wax. Yeah, hydrogen peroxide is a superb treatment.
Right. And then he, when he put me on my right side, he irrigated it with water, and stuff that came out there was not pretty, But it worked. I'm 63 years old right now. I've never had an earache since.
Yep, he did the right thing.
All right, that's all I wanted to share with you guys.
Glenn, before you go, I had a question that I guess to add some more dots to what you mentioned. Dr. Shealy, the reason that the doctor irrigated Glenn's ear with water after using hydrogen peroxide, was that to dilute the hydrogen peroxide so it would not cause harm?
No, actually just to rinse it out. The hydrogen peroxide will help loosen it, but it won't necessarily drain it adequately. So,
okay.
It will loosen the wax, and then the water would help finish cleansing it.
Yeah,
Dr. Shealy, yes, go ahead.
I think Dr. Shealy's correct. I think the initial thing was kill the bacteria in my ear, and then I think the irrigation was to remove the buildup in my ear.
Right.
So, Glenn, do you use hydrogen peroxide for cuts and wounds as well at your house?
Yeah, I use that and super glue if they're really bad. Listen, it worked. I don't.
I know you're not kidding. I know you're not kidding. Dr. Shealy, your thoughts on using super glue to...
I don't know. I've never put it on my skin, so I don't know.
Well, I can tell you the hospitals do that, Dr. Shealy. Like, for example, if someone falls down and cuts their head and the flaps of skin, they literally use super glue because super glue, I believe, was originally found to be a great handcuff. So during the Vietnam conflict era, you could take a person's thumb and forefinger, one drop of super glue, and glue the thumb and forefinger together. Then you make you take the other thumb and forefinger, and you make a chain with those two hands. Now you've glued the hands together, and if they're behind you, you're going to rip your skin off if you try to get your hands apart. Glenn, that's what it does, right?
Really, really quick, I'll share one more experience I had when I was a little bit younger. About 20 years ago, I got a wound on my top of my forehead, about 3.5, 4 inches long. Hospital, they irrigated it, put it together, and super glued it together. They didn't stitch me. That was it. Went to super glue. I don't know about the toxicity of the super glue, but it worked, and I didn't have to have stitches in there and looking ugly for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I accidentally super glued my right hand, thumb and forefinger, and I accidentally glued it together. And that was a real problem because the way of removing it, dissolving super glue, is with acetone, nail polish remover. Now, it has to be acetone, not in a water-based nail polish remover. But I had to go to the drugstore, and I couldn't use my right hand to start the car. I couldn't use my right hand for the gear shift. I had to do everything with my left hand, and it's a real problem. And Art Bell, the greatest broadcaster ever, Art Bell superglued his lips together.
I go to the bathroom. Oh.
Yeah. Art Bell superglued his lips together during one of his broadcasts. It was hysterical, but it was serious. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much. Glenn, thank you.